You're listening to Main Character Manifesto, where we talk mindset, self-identity, and stepping into your power. I am your host, Ceci, your go-to life coach for real talk and major glow-ups. This is your space to get inspired, get honest, and get moving toward the life you know you're meant to live. Let's get into it.
Who's that girl? That's me. I'm on fire. I'm a hot girl. I'm a hot girl. I get anything I want. This is my world. I make big moves in my big heels. Since the day that I was born, I've been a big deal.
Let's do this. How is everybody this week? I swear I wish every time I ask you guys, how's everybody this week? I wish I could hear you guys respond because I really feel like we're having a conversation and it would be so amazing to have it be interactive. So let's make it interactive. Leave me comments in the show notes. Send me a DM. Let's start the conversation. I want to know how you guys are doing, how you guys are enjoying the podcast. I have been getting a lot of comments and feedback from friends and family and new listeners, and I'm truly grateful for all of you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate you. And let's keep moving forward and leveling up. I love this for us. For today's episode, I felt the need to really talk about how saying no can be so beneficial to you. I used to say yes to everything, every invite, every favor, every request, because I didn't want to let anyone down. I thought being available made me more valuable. I thought saying no would make people love me less, or I just felt like I would be letting them down. But the truth is that the one that I kept disappointing over and over was myself. I was abandoning myself every time I said yes when I really meant no. And eventually I realized people pleasing isn't kindness when it comes to the cost of your own peace. Should I say that again? People pleasing isn't kindness when it comes at the cost of your own peace. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. Let's start talking about why we actually struggle to say no. I think for many of us, it's fear of being judged or fear of being disliked or seen as selfish. I think many women are such givers. We give so much to everybody else. We want to take care of everybody, and we think that putting ourselves first is a selfish thing. And we want others to be comfortable and to be safe and secure, that we don't realize that we deserve that safety and security and that self-love just the same way. A lot of this is rooted in how we grew up, how we saw our parents acting, in particular our mother or our father or our grandparents. It depends who we had around us growing up. But if we see the same type of actions as we're growing up, then we think that's how it should be. I think even in the Latin culture, it's very common for the woman to serve everybody else, including their husband, and then they're always the last one to eat. This is all tied to our self-worth, the ability to say no, the ability to say, hey, I'd love to help you with that, but I can't right now. It's just so hard for us to let other people down. And why is that? If we are strong and secure and we understand that our boundaries and our priorities are just as important as helping other people with their own stuff, then we won't feel like we are letting them down. We're just feeling strong and secure and like we are respecting ourselves and standing up for ourselves by saying no. So there needs to be a bit of a delayering, like how I always say, what the root of the problem is. What is it about saying no to somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable? And every single time that you're going to be put in a situation, whether somebody asks you for a favor and you know that you will be overextending yourself and then causing some stress, start to think about what is making you feel uncomfortable about saying no. Is it that you don't know how to stand up for yourself? Is it that you're just scared that they will think that you're selfish? Like, what is it? Another thing we want to think about is that what other people think about us is none of our business. And I've said this before and I will say it again. Even if it's our friends, even if it's our family members, our coworkers, whoever it is, let them think that you're selfish. If you know that you're putting yourself first and that these are the boundaries that you require in order to stay consistent with the things that you want to do, it's okay that they're thinking that you're selfish, because we cannot always keep saying no and then also get the things that we need to get done. Because what happens is when we keep saying yes to everything, then we are dealing with everything that we have on our own plate. And then you add everything else that you have for your friends and your family. And then you have maybe what the boss is giving you. And then maybe a friend reached out. Hey, can you help me do this for this event? And then maybe a cousin also. And if you keep piling onto your plate, something's bound to give. This is what happens when you see women totally exhausted, burnt out. I mean, it happens with men and women. It's not just directly related to women constantly saying yes. Of course, men do this also. Men are also caretakers, but for the most part, in my experience, I've seen it more with women. And they do so much and make sure that they take care of everybody else, that they stop going to the gym, they stop taking care of themselves, maybe they stop doing their hair at the salon. I see this all the time. I will have some clients that have kids and they pour everything to their job, their kids, their husband, their friends, everybody else. And they make sure that they bring their kids into the salon to get a haircut. They make everybody's appointments for the doctors. They do everything else. And then they make like maybe one appointment a year for themselves to come and get their hair cut or colored, because they feel selfish taking that time to make sure that they're also taken care of. They're not going to the gym. They don't have time to eat healthy. They don't have time to prioritize even their own health. And many times they don't even really take charge of their health until it's too late. And I mean, the amount of women and men that I've heard, oh yeah, I had to start losing weight because I was pre-diabetic and because my blood pressure was high or because my cholesterol was high. Literally, they had to get to a certain point where it was getting dangerous health-wise for them to make that shift. Why do we have to get to a level where things have to be so unhealthy for us to make the change? I mean, I get it. We've all done that. We all do that in certain areas of our lives, some more than others, but let's do better. Let's start setting these boundaries, holding ourselves accountable, respecting ourselves more, and loving ourselves to the point where we are not saying yes to everything and that we are filtering the amount of things that we are taking on our plate so that we can actually fulfill some of the things that we've been wanting to get done. Because if you keep running on empty, but still showing up for everybody else, this is not going to end well. Another thing that happens is that resentment starts to build up. If you start showing up for everybody else instead of doing things for yourself when you know that you need to be pouring more into your own cup, people start to get resentful, and that's just normal. I think in order to have healthier relationships with yourself, with your friends, with your family members, with your spouse, with everybody, you have to have healthy boundaries. So that also says say no to certain work things, not answering emails after a certain day, if it's on the weekend, or a certain time if it's during the weekday. A lot of people that I know have opted to take the email off of their phone so that they don't have that temptation of checking work email after work hours. I think that's actually so amazing and such a good practice, because then you're also setting expectations. You're letting your employer know, hey, yes, I am available when I'm at work during work hours, and when I'm not there, I cannot check emails. So do not email me. Don't text me. Don't call me. I mean, obviously, if there's an emergency, there's going to be communication, but those are exceptions. That can't be the rule. And I have talked to so many women, and I've been one of these women myself, where you feel like you're not doing your job right unless you're on 24/7, replying, responding, doing all the things that you need to do. And it's just not okay. So in 2025, we are in June 2025. We are changing this. And if you're listening from the future, you can start resetting this at any point of your life. It doesn't matter what day, what month, what year. Just start that shift in your mindset so that you can start to really filter out what you're allowing and start curating what your boundaries are. Now let's talk about what is going to happen when you start to build up that strength to start saying no to things. Many of us already have certain ideas of things that we want to say no to, right? We have ideas of who constantly comes over and asks for help, and who's constantly just taking our energy, and who we want to start saying no to. So if we start to think about what are some of the responses that we're going to be receiving, and we start to prepare, you can start doing some sort of role play. They do say that practicing possible outcomes of whatever question is going to be is set to be way more successful in you actually following through that boundary that you have. For example, let's say that I have a coworker or a boss that is constantly putting stuff on my plate at the end of the day. Let's say I'm supposed to get off work at 5, and this person constantly shows up at 4:45, 4:50, and gives me another task to do that will take me at least 45 minutes to an hour. So this means that I would be overextending myself when I could be going home, getting myself, my food ready, working out, all the things that I would want to do, right? This is just a scenario. Well, if you start role playing how that interaction would work and the different outcomes that they could say and that you could say, when it actually happens, you're going to be prepared. You're going to already have a few different answers in your pocket ready to go. And it's not going to feel like you're so alone and like it's just so uncomfortable, because you're going to have some of these already prepared. And they say to do this in the mirror, looking at yourself and practicing. Like if the boss comes over and they say, hey, Mary, can you work on this folder? It shouldn't be too long. It'll be just a few minutes. You can say, "Hi, Mr. or Mrs. Jones. Thank you so much for dropping that off. I am about to leave. It's about 15 minutes until the end of the day. I will for sure get to that in the morning." And then you can kind of play with whatever examples they're going to say, because you better know that if these people are used to getting whatever they want from you, they're not going to accept no at the first time. That means that you're going to have to get used to saying no to them multiple times. You have to start setting that boundary. It's going to be a new normal for you and for them until they realize that this is a new boundary that cannot be crossed. So when you're doing your role play, you should think about alternate answers that they're going to say, like, "Hey, it'll only take a few minutes. I would really appreciate it." You can be like, "You know what? I would really love to take it on. If you would have brought it to me half an hour or an hour earlier, I could have gotten it done, but it's so close and I really cannot stay. I have a hard cutoff time at 5 because I have other priorities or I have other commitments." You do not have to go into what those commitments are. You do not have to justify the fact that that commitment might just be to go home and relax, because you're entitled to that. It's literally your life. If you're clocking in and you're clocking out, that should be yours. Now, this is just a work example. I know many of us work for ourselves. So that means that I have to be my own person that takes accountability for my hard stop. And say no sometimes means say no to yourself. And I do this so much. I honestly feel like the reason I have this sty. So for all of you that reached out and said, "I hope you're doing better. I hope your eye's getting better." Thank you so much. I truly appreciate the thoughtful messages and the level of care that I received. It is doing much better. I am hoping to be back on video sometime next week. I just wanted to really give it some time to heal and take a little bit of a break. So it's actually been nice, and I really did enjoy doing the audio only last week, but I do love doing the video. I feel like it's great. And so people that way have the option to do video or audio, whatever they want. And we will be going back to regular scheduled programming, hopefully next week. For next week's podcast, I believe we will be back on video. So send me all your good healing energy, because we will get there. But going back to being an entrepreneur and self-employed, this means that we have to be so good and so honest with ourselves about what kind of work we are doing, because I swear I have been doing way too much. My body has been telling me to slow down, and it's been to the point where my energy has been so low. I still have been able to get my food in order, get my workouts in. I haven't been able to make it to all of my Pilates sessions, but I've made it to all of my lifting sessions. I've gotten my steps in pretty much almost every day, maybe like one day where I had an event or something that I couldn't wear my watch because I think it's hideous and I refuse, but I wear it most of the times. But I am saying this because I have used my nervous system regulation techniques to guide myself through these really hard times when I'm super busy. I have a lot going on. And even then, I think I should have said no to a lot of things that I said yes to. Yes, I worked out, which helps me regulate my nervous system. Yes, I ate healthy, which also helps me. I tried to get some sleep, but my sleep has been off for various reasons. Now, understanding that for me, what works well for me to be able to function and to be able to feel at my best, I need to work out, eat healthy, and get some sleep. That is just my bare minimum. But even if that is slightly off, I definitely could have said no to a lot of things. And it really made me think that it was one of the things that I wanted to talk about next, because so many of us feel this way, especially the ones that have kids and that have even more on their plate on top of everything else that you're doing. You have just so many other responsibilities. So learning to set these boundaries in your journey is going to be so amazing. Saying no truly supports your wellness journey because you are creating space by saying no to things that you don't have time for or that are not adding value to your journey. You can carve out a little bit more time, maybe go on a walk or maybe have a little bit more time to prep healthy food. And it starts to fall more into a routine that you can maintain and that can become a lifestyle. It's also super important to create space for rest. We don't always have to be extremely productive. I have learned over the years that I absolutely need at least one full day of rest. And for me, what that day of rest looks like can be different than somebody else's. I love being active early in the morning. So to me, it's let me do maybe Pilates, especially on the weekend. That's usually my rest day. So I'll do Pilates and then I'll either go for a walk or I'll walk on the treadmill at home. And then the rest of the day, my ideal day would be either get outside, go explore, or stay at home, watch movies, and just relax. It's so important for your body to feel like it has the time to refuel and get that energy back. It's also great for your brain. Your brain needs to slow down and recharge just as much as your body does. So this will mean that you're going to start to make room for aligned yeses and for what you truly desire. Now let's get into reframing no as self-respect, not rejection. Let's think about this a little bit further. No doesn't mean that you're rude. It means that you respect your limits. And what this means is that you want others around you to respect your limits as well. People who love you will honor your boundaries. Sometimes it might take a little bit of time for them to get used to this new normal, but if you are calm and you explain that you are readjusting your boundaries, you know that you can't do everything at once and you are just reorganizing what you are accepting and what you can do at the time because it's just not working for you, for your emotional and mental health. I mean, you can say whatever you're comfortable saying, but if you say it in a kind and loving way so that they understand that you're coming from a good place, they're bound to understand and start to meet you at the level that you're at and respect your boundaries. Because the more you keep saying yes to everybody else, is the more that you're saying no to yourself. So let's shift that. Let's make say no to others equal saying yes to you, and have that be a positive thing and not a negative thing. Now, I'm not saying that you need to start saying no to everything around you and then just start shutting people out. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about all of those extra things that people come to us when we for sure know that we cannot take it on, and we say yes, even when our gut is like, totally hurting and giving you that nudge where it's like, you can't do that, you know? We know every single time that we do that and that we say, yeah, sure, I'll make it work. Don't worry. We know deep down inside that we can't, like, yes, we can get it done, but am I going to be rested? Am I going to be overstressed? Am I going to be overbooked? Absolutely. So if we just follow our intuition and say, you know what? Let me think about it. Let me look at my calendar and I will get back to you. If you need to buy yourself a little time to say no, do that. Sometimes we get caught off guard when somebody comes up to us and we're not expecting. They may be like, hey, I just saw you. Would you mind doing this? I would love the help. Practice saying, let me think about it. I'm going to look at my schedule and I'll get back to you. That will give you the time that you need to get your mindset and your courage and get your script going about how you want to say it, and prepare for them to say, please just do it. You know, it's like if you kind of prepare for them to constantly just push a little bit harder, that way you can start your new boundary. And if you practice, I promise you, it'll make everything so much easier. Another thing I wanted to touch up on when it comes to saying no is the role of self-identity and boundaries. When you know who you are, you stop seeking validation. So when you're comfortable with who you are and when you're secure with who you are, you know that you're not going to compromise your own well-being to overextend yourself for somebody else. So when you're not seeking validation from others and when you're not worried about letting other people down or being looked at as selfish, then you're 100% secure in holding the boundaries that you have set. Many of us have to learn that. We weren't taught that. Our parents, grandparents didn't do that. They overextended themselves and they said yes, no matter what. So yes, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve to shift that mindset, to shift the actions, to set the boundaries and stick to them. It's not going to work if you set a boundary and then you don't stick to it. The hardest part is going to be sticking to saying no when you can't do it and not getting persuaded to do it just because you felt bad and you gave in. Don't do that. Let's not do that. So if you feel like it's going to be really hard or like you don't know if you will be able to start saying no, whether it's at work or with a certain family member that maybe takes advantage of certain situations, start working on your self-identity. Start working on what are the reasons that I feel like I'm not either strong enough, or understand that you are worthy of having this peace that you are seeking, and that the people that understand and respect your boundaries are the people that you want to keep around. So if certain people keep crossing your boundaries and keep pushing them and not paying attention to you, think about how rude that is of them to not respect the boundaries that you are trying to be clear upon. So shift your mindset and be like, no, that is not what I want. I said no, thank you. And I wish I could, but I can't, or I choose not to. I mean, even if that makes you uncomfortable to say I choose not to, just say I don't have the capacity to do that at the moment. Thank you for thinking of me. The more you start doing this, the more the people around you are going to understand that your boundaries that you're setting are non-negotiable, and then you're not going to have as many uncomfortable conversations. So if you start laying the foundation on the things that you want to do and how you want to get treated, then once you have done it long enough and people understand where you stand, these uncomfortable conversations are going to end. There's not going to be as many of them as there was before. So now let's go over some scripts that you can start practicing and you can put in your pocket and just put them in your notes, put them on Google Docs, send them to yourself. I do a lot of text to myself whenever I want to just have something really quick and accessible, but of course, I use notes, I categorize them, and I love notes as well. So let's practice some scripts and tips for saying no with confidence. Here goes one. That doesn't work for me right now, but thank you for thinking of me. Shh, that is straight and to the point. Another tip for saying no with confidence is I don't have the capacity for that right now. That's great. Another one is I am prioritizing my wellness and need to sit this one out. This is great for whenever there's a situation that you're not really feeling comfortable with that maybe is going to go against whatever fitness program that you have, or if you're trying to lose weight and you're sticking to a certain diet. And if you want to just sit this one out, just say no, thank you. This is going against what I'm doing for my wellness, and just go with that. Another thing that you have to think about is that the way that you set your boundaries will definitely be a reflection of everybody else around you. So if you start to set boundaries and you start to say no, your kids, your sisters, your family members, they're going to look at you and be like, wow, look at her. She's really paying attention to what she's doing and how she's curating her life. I should probably do that too. And then they're going to start to set their own boundaries. I think this is so important, especially for parents. If they show their kids a healthy way to set boundaries and how to handle that, then when they are in that situation, when they have to start filtering out what they want to do and what they don't want to do, then they're able to have those skills to properly stand up for themselves and not get overworked and not get taken advantage of. What you are doing by doing this in front of others and leading the way and setting your own boundaries is you are teaching others how to treat you and how to value themselves. If you are valuing yourself, then that teaches them like, wow, okay, they have standards of how they want to be treated. That's amazing. I should do the same thing. And you guys know I love a good journal entry, a little homework situation. I love to just kind of expand on whatever we talk about and whatever we work on in the podcast to just kind of keep the ball rolling and keep the juices flowing so that we get a little bit deeper. So I put together some journal prompts, and here they are. Think about where in your life you're saying yes to when you're really meaning no. Because right now, when you're thinking about this, there may be certain situations that you're thinking like, oh yeah, I could have said no to that. I could have said no to this. But some of you might be like, okay, I know that I've done this in the past, but I don't necessarily know where to start. So if you just get a notebook, put it by your bed, or you use your notes app whenever you have a thought come up, you can start to just write down whatever comes to mind and start thinking about where in your life you are saying yes when you really mean to say no. You're going to be so surprised in all of the things that come to your mind that you need to be shifting. And this is such a great way to get some clarity on things that you need to change and things that need to be addressed. Okay, are you guys ready for the second journal prompt? Here it goes. What would your highest self protect their time and energy from? Ooh, that's a good one. What would your highest self protect their time and energy from? I think for me, I know that what I need to start to say no to is working 24/7. I think I need to get a clear day where it's just a day that's completely off. I schedule my posts. I do all my social media scheduled ahead of time so that I have at least one full day that I do not have to do anything that has to do with business. I mean, if I do like a 15 to 20 minute short post on Instagram just to kind of repost the things that I already have planned, I'm okay with that. But besides that, I think my mind and my body really, really needs to rest and really needs to get a little bit more of that reset that I'm not getting and I'm not allowing for myself. So saying no for me right now starts with myself, but also taking on projects that other people are asking me to do is another thing I'm going to start saying no to. I think if we sit down and you write down what your goals are, it really helps to clarify what your focus is and what you need to be focusing on at the moment. Because for the people that have a lot going on, you need to think about, all right, these are my top 3 priorities, maybe like my health, my family, my job, and then maybe something else, a project that you're working on. These are my priorities. How can I focus my time on that? And then everything else right now, I don't have time for, or I have limited time, right? You can designate a certain amount of time every week. Okay, this is my open slot. And when that open slot fills up, that means I can't. That means I have to say no. That's how I'm looking at it, and that's how I'm going to tackle it. So I will check back in with you next week and let you know what are the changes that I made to start to get a little bit more of that relief and a little bit feeling more like in control of my time and my energy, and if I said no to certain things. I've said no already to a few people that have talked about working on certain projects. And I said, hey, listen, I'm being completely transparent. These are my goals. And I don't think I'm going to have time for what you're asking me to do. So I just want to give you transparency on where my thoughts are and what my intentions are for myself and for my business and for what I have availability for. And I'm probably not going to have time for that. And they totally respected that answer. They said, thank you so much for letting me know. We will check back in when the project comes up. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. So I felt so much better when I started to really speak up for myself and just give them a little bit of transparency on where I was and where I want to go. So let's check back in and see how we're doing. You don't owe anyone access to your time, your energy, or your peace. Every no you say is a yes, becoming the woman you're meant to be. So here we are at the end of another podcast, and I would want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in to Main Character Manifesto. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it with a friend, tag me on social media, or leave a review. I would love it, and it helps more people find the show and step into their own main character energy. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't ever miss an episode. And until next time, keep showing up for yourself. The world needs your story.